All right, so welcome everyone. My name is Brittany Bilo, and this is the Fiercely Focused monthly Tuesday training. So each month I provide a free training really to help women who are in business or run a side hustle or in corporate who are just looking for additional skills to help with being more confident, asking for that promotion, understanding how to navigate through to move to the next level. We talk about a lot of things regarding confidence, personal branding, negotiation, what a mentor is, how to get one, various topics of that nature. So I highly recommend that you share this particular training with any women or anyone in your circle who you think could benefit from hearing more about this. The training is on Tuesdays, once a month. I chose the first Tuesday of every month because Mondays are insane, but Tuesdays seem to be getting into a better start to the week. I'm not in a crazy rush, and people actually have time. So all of the calls are recorded, but if you're here live, you get the benefit of asking more specific questions at the end. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started on tonight's topic, which is all about personal branding. And if you followed me for a while, you know that I have a blog that I write or try to once a week. I've been pretty good about that, where I write a lot about these various topics. And I am trying to, as part of my own goal and development, create more videos because honestly, I've noticed I always watch videos. I always listen to podcasts and things that really help me grow. And sometimes I read blogs, sometimes I don't. And I prefer to have options. So this video tonight and this training is all about personal branding. So I will just throw in that I've written a blog about it. If you prefer to read blogs, great. If you prefer both, this is just going to be an audio supplement, but it'll have a bit more because I'm here live. I can share more than I can that I'm writing down. So we've all heard this term personal brand, and I first didn't really know what it was. I didn't understand why I needed to care. And I do remember the very first time that I realized my personal brand was something that I needed to care about and I needed to pay attention to. And it obviously, it happened at an embarrassing time. Like, how many things have happened in your life and you've learned a lesson, but it was a hard lesson and you maybe were embarrassed, or you created a lot more problems for yourself than you needed to, but you eventually found the solution. It just unfortunately came from a mistake. I hate using the term mistakes, but we all make them, and there's a way to grow from it. And in this case, I had a personal branding mistake, and I didn't even realize it at the time. So I started working with a team a few years ago that really had a problem with my style. As a woman, I love to dress the way I want to dress. I want to look cute. I want to be trendy. But in a corporate world and even at work, regardless of what your job is, you always want to fit an image of the job and the work that you do. Your image isn't all about how you look outside of work or how you perceive yourself, but there are subtle ways and there are really good ways that you can incorporate both. I lived my life for a long time trying to separate who I was outside of work and who I was in the corporate area. And you don't have to do that. I mean, there's things, part of your personal brand is the way that you talk. I do cuss a lot. I will be the first to admit it. I drop F-bombs in conversations casually. I say a lot of things that in conversations with my girlfriends and outside of work, I would never say in the workplace. But it doesn't mean that I can't show my personality or bring out parts of who I am outside of work into the workplace. But there's a limit and there's a line that should be drawn. One of those in my unfortunate situation was with my style. So I like wearing heels. Everyone always compliments me on the heels. They always some women actually make jokes about, oh, well, I don't know how you're going to walk that far, or how you get through the day. And that's okay. Everyone wears heels, but there's another point. So if you haven't already, I would advise you just to take a pen and a notepad, jot down a few notes, because these 5 things that I share with you are really going to help really change your thinking and some things that you can actually go do starting tomorrow. So the first thing is to be aware of your image. In my particular situation, I was wearing heels that had a sparkly tone. They also matched a top that I was wearing. So I'm thinking, oh, this is so perfect. The shoes match the top. It was black. I didn't think it was inappropriate for the workplace, but there were some other people that did. And the clients that I supported at that time, I highly valued their opinion. And unfortunately, the feedback didn't come directly from them. They actually told my boss. And that was one of those humbling moments. It was a little embarrassing, but I was able to have that conversation after I got over the embarrassment and the natural tendency to start defending myself. I realized, okay, they have a point. They're giving me good feedback. It's something that I should keep in mind going forward so I can make sure that this never happens again. And God forbid, they had an opinion of me that I didn't have of myself. And who knows who else had the same opinion of that person. And I didn't even realize it. So the first impressions, I don't have to say, are everything, because you truly could be limiting yourself when it comes to your first impression with someone or your perception when you come to meet a group and you're dressing like cute and stylish to an extent that's too far. Not to say you can't be cute and stylish, but there are proper ways to do that. I love Ann Taylor and Banana Republic, a few others. MM LaFleur is another professional women's clothing line that I would recommend trying out, reviewing some of those things. I shop at Express. I like to shop within a budget. I don't like spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on suits and tops, but I do from time to time. And most of my work attire can come from somewhere like Ann Taylor or Banana Republic. It is priced pretty well and decent, so I'd recommend that. So one thing that I'd like to mention here as we get further into personal branding is that the way that we look is honestly part of who we are. So it's not just about how we look. There are other elements, but that's a big piece. And some research that I recently did, actually, there was somebody who mentioned that, your appearance obviously is the first thing people see, but what's most important when you kind of look at, are you looking at someone's face, their makeup, their hair, their clothes? Hair happened to be number one in a recent study of what really sets someone apart and what people notice before they notice anything else. They notice your hair. And I didn't ever realize that. I'm kind of glad that I know that now, because I do have my days where I don't want to fix my hair. I want to throw it up in a bun. But there is such a thing as a cute, messy bun where you don't have frizzies flying over the place. So just keep in mind, your brand has many elements, also your attitude, your values, and most importantly, your reputation. So how we view ourselves, as I mentioned, isn't how others might view us. And that isn't how our personal brand is defined. So our perception of ourselves really doesn't matter in terms of the larger picture. Our personal brand is how others perceive us. And it's important that we are clearly articulating who we are. If you want to be taken seriously and you want respect and you want people to appreciate and trust you, especially in a management position or for someone who's aspiring to manage people or lead an organization, you have to look at, how are you speaking to people? How are you engaging in conversations? What kind of people do you spend your time around? Are you respected? And maybe you should get some feedback. I would highly recommend getting feedback from people you like and trust. From a friendship perspective, ask your friends, what do you think of me? When you describe me to somebody, how do you describe me? You could ask that of colleagues and even managers. But I will say, be prepared for whatever they might tell you. Sometimes you might hear, Brittany, maybe you shouldn't wear those sparkly heels. Be prepared for that. Say thank you. You might not agree right away, but they have a point. So take that in consideration. If someone is willing to share feedback with you that you might not really believe or agree with, thank them anyway, because if you don't and you respond negatively and you try to defend yourself, they're probably not ever going to want to offer you any type of feedback ever again in the future. So don't burn that bridge so soon. So the next thing I'll recommend, number 2, is create a skills inventory. So you are yourself. You walk the way you walk, you talk the way you talk, you dress the way you dress. But what skills do you have to offer? If you take that notepad and pen, start writing this down. If you have a LinkedIn profile, go check it out. If you have a resume you've recently dusted off, look at those things. What skills do you have? What core things do you bring to the table that someone would want to hire you for? Where have you actually contributed those skills? So I like to start thinking about my first job when it comes to the skills I've developed. And even if you started as a receptionist, or you were a bartender, or you were waiting tables, you have obviously gotten some sort of skill from that experience. You might be trying to move into a marketing position or being a communications director, but those skills that you had as a bartender or as a waitress or as somebody who organized shoes at a department store are going to translate and show up somehow in your future. You're learning time management skills. If you ever had to clock in at work, you're learning how to really be of service to other people. Customer service skills, patience, all those things come from any position that we're in. We are in positions to help other people in some form or fashion. And even if we're not focusing directly on the job we are doing, think about it from a bigger perspective. If you are a receptionist at a company, the way that you answer the phone or the way that you greet people when they come in, that is the first impression of that company. So the skills you're developing are, yes, customer service and understanding how to, run things from a front desk perspective. But you are also the face and the first person that someone sees, and that's a skill in and of itself. You are also learning how to manage your emotions. I can tell you the days that I did reception, I had really bad days. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't even want to see people. But I was able to control and understand how to manage my emotions so that I put on a good face for my company and didn't create a bad impression or lose business because my attitude got in the way. So that's something else to think about, how your attitude affects your brand. If you meet someone, you greet them with a smile, you greet them with a handshake. If you come across as standoffish or you're not smiling at all, their first impression of you is probably you're a bitch, or you don't really seem interested in anything I have to say. And by the way, you don't always have to be interested. You just have to seem interested. Be engaging, involve yourself in a conversation, listen to what people are saying, ask clarifying questions. Those are all ways to be engaged in a conversation, even if you don't really want to be there. The next thing that I would say, so number 3, state your accomplishments. What are some of the key things that you've achieved in your career, regardless of where you are, that have demonstrated professional success? What have you done and what do you do now? I highly recommend creating a timeline, a trajectory of your career. When you started, what your first position was, what kind of things you did, what kind of people you met, what kind of experiences you had. Did you travel anywhere? Did you create a first big project for a company? Did you involve yourself in an event? Were you tasked with running an event? What are all those things that you did? Because we tend to forget all the amazing things that we've done as we continue climbing up. And it's hard for us to remember all the things we've accomplished when we're so focused on the future. And it's important to be focused on the future, but don't let your focus on next make you forget about all the crazy, amazing things you've already done. That is going to not only boost your self-esteem instantly, but it's going to remind you that I have the skills. I can do this. I've been here. And you may not be a marketing communicator director currently, but if that's what you're trying to get to, I'm pretty sure that you can find some skills from past jobs and past experiences that translate into that of what a marketing director needs to have. So think about those things, state your accomplishments, and don't say things like, oh, it's no big deal. It didn't take that much time. We always downplay what we do. And I think, especially women, I've been guilty of it myself. When somebody's like, oh, Brittany, that was such a great project, and thanks for turning this around so quickly. My response is, oh, it was no big deal. Didn't take that much time. It actually can come across as a bit egotistic. So if you're telling someone it's no big deal, didn't take much time, it's like, oh, well, she must be able to do all of this really easily, and it seems hard to me, so she might think she's too good. Or, don't worry about it, it's no big deal. You're saying the work that you're doing is no big deal. What does that come across as? So just think about the words you use and the way you respond to people. It matters, and you always want to seem confident. You always want to seem helpful, and you want people to think that you are very skilled. So don't downplay what you've done, and thank them. If they acknowledge, I worked really hard on that, I appreciate you thanking me. Even if you didn't work that hard on it, they don't need to know that. And they will appreciate you more hearing something like, I worked so hard for this, thank you, other than hearing, oh, it was no big deal. So tip number 4, actually, yes, this is tip number 4, hold up the mirror. So I talked about, like in the first tip, just to really take a look around. I want you to really hold up the mirror to yourself. So number 4, hold up the mirror. Take a look within and be brutally honest with yourself. What image do you portray by the way you carry yourself? Now, I don't want to go back to just your appearance and what you wear, but do the clothes that you wear really speak to the person that you are trying to become? Does the way that you spend your time speak to the person that you are trying to become, or the position that you're trying to have? Those things are all so important, because many times we walk through our lives constantly wanting to have the next opportunity, but if you're having trouble finding that next opportunity or getting there, it may be because you're not ready. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean you're not ready from the sense of you don't have all the skills and the experience. You may not be ready in your mind, and you may not be ready outwardly from what people are seeing. If I were to walk into a meeting with those sparkly ass heels, and I'm talking about applying for the next big position that comes up, do I honestly think I'm going to get the opportunity when the hiring manager might be in that meeting, sees what I'm wearing, and thinks, oh my gosh, who does she think she is? No. Now, thank God I know that I shouldn't be wearing those shoes, and I'll probably wear something different. But the point is, you are going to see yourself differently than others. And it's not always about impressing other people. Don't get me wrong. It's about impressing those who are going to have an influence on your career. So whether they are partners, clients, colleagues, everyone that you work around has a perception of you, and your brand is you. You're walking that brand every single day, and the way that you carry yourself, the way you speak to people, the way you treat people is remembered. And honestly, people remember the negative before they'll remember everything great. And we do that as humans. The first thing that we think about is everything that could possibly go wrong, until we train our brains to think about all the potential and all the opportunities if we actually took the chance. It's not easy to just naturally wake up and be a positive person. And that's why you see so much on social media, and you hear and you have to listen to podcasts and do things to be positive, because it's not easy. Every single day there are things happening in the world and in our lives, unfortunate situations that could totally ruin our day. And if we choose to focus on that all day long, you're going to have a really bad day. But if you think about everything that's good, and you can appreciate what you have to offer, and you understand what it is that you need to be tweaking or making changes to, that is something that you should certainly think about. Hold the mirror up to yourself and take an honest look. Does my image portray who I am trying to become? And are you cultivating relationships with other people? Are you taking time to get feedback from people who are going to help you grow? Or are you being that defensive person? Be honest with yourself, swallow your pride, and start digging deeper into where you can improve, because we all have areas in our life that we can improve. So tip number 4, clarify your reputation. Actually, I think this is 5. I do not have these numbered. Sorry. Clarify your reputation. So again, what are you known for? If you've written down the previous tip, ask some friends, ask some colleagues, managers, previous managers. What do people think of you? What skills do people know you for? That's one thing I love to do, and I highly recommend, is also to be a resource to people. Provide people with recommendations, things that work for you, tips on makeup, tips on how you've done your hair. Be open with that. You know, I get compliments. I recently got a Brazilian blowout. Probably going to need to get one again soon. But people have asked, like, what did you do? Your hair looks so shiny and healthy. Like, who would I look like? I'm like, oh, I tried this new thing, and I don't remember the name of it. But yeah, thank you. So I could answer it that way, or just say, you know what? Oh, thanks for noticing. I just went and got a Brazilian blowout. These are some of the products that she recommended me use. I'll send those to you if you're interested. I mean, they're going to remember like how brushing off I was up front if I decided to go that route, or they're going to appreciate, and they will say thank you. And they'll remember that I was giving them a recommendation on hair because they took the time to appreciate it and point those things out. It's little things. Now, aside from hair and makeup, somebody could also come to you and say, hey, you had an amazing presentation. You did a really good job on this. Can you help me? Or do you have some tips or some things I could do? Now, if they ask for that, of course, I think you should share some of your tips, how much time you spend, or what some best practices are for preparing a presentation. Otherwise, you could say, thanks, I worked really hard on that. If I can help you at all, let me know. If I can give you some pointers or help you prepare for anything, call me. Don't say that and hope that they don't. Really, truly mean it, because honestly, a lot of people don't take people up on those offers. But if you're sincere, they're always going to remember that, even if they don't call you. So clarify your reputation. Make sure that you're being of value to people. Add value all day, every day. And make sure that people know who you truly are. Don't let them catch you on a bad day and then think that that's all that you are. And if you ever do have bad days, we all do, make sure if you've snapped at someone or you've said something or you just feel guilt, follow up with them and say, hey, I really have been thinking about yesterday or whatever day it was. I wasn't really feeling that well. And when you came up to me and you asked about this, I may not have responded right. My head wasn't there. I had a lot going on. And I just wanted to make sure that I'm giving you this information. And I wanted to apologize for the way I might come across. But going forward, feel free to use this. I hope this tip works, blah, blah, blah. So there are ways for you to go do a little bit of damage control on a bad day, but don't let every day be that way. The last tip that I want to share with you is scan your network. So who do you know and who knows you? If you're part of any networking groups or you go to networking events, I highly recommend that you take the time to just scan. Who are the people that you're hanging around? Who are you spending your time with? This is all a part of your personal brand. And Jim Rohn had a quote that we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time around. I think that's very true. If you're spending your time around people who are doing mediocre jobs and they're just doing enough to get by, you're probably going to be getting advice from them and doing some of those things. If you're hanging around people who are constantly trying to level up and grow and do more and have really creative ideas, those are the people that are going to inspire you and that are going to get your thoughts going and they're going to make you more creative. And to take chances and risks that you probably wouldn't have by just spending all of your time with mediocre people who probably have tapped out of what they're going to be able to provide to you from a growth perspective. So take time to look at your network, understand who you're spending time around, and get involved in some networking groups. I am part of Elevate Women's Network. I think it's a great network. They're a global chapter. I'm a part of our local chapter in Houston, and I've learned a lot of things. I've met some amazing women and created relationships that are going to help me in the future. So as I wrap this up, I do want to mention all of these points for your personal brand are so important. But one final thing I challenge you to do is to create a short and sweet 10-second elevator pitch that you can share with someone that you meet, that shows that you're a valuable resource, but also creates a little bit of curiosity. And your elevator speech should clearly state who you are as a professional and also how you can add value to them. You can probably put this into your LinkedIn profile or even on your resume. But one comment that I'd make around the elevator pitch, be sure to use adjectives to describe your work style and include specific areas of expertise. So I hope that this has been really helpful to you. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me, comment, reach out. I'd be happy to help. And with that, I'm going to close the recording. For those who are on the live call, feel free to ask any questions.